The only thing that really matters is how much you're willing to essentially fail and like try and try again, because it has nothing to do about intelligence. As all you have to do is fail and be willing to do that 1,000 times over to achieve what you want.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Founder Real Talk by Wisdom Partners. I'm your host, Josh Broward, CEO of Wisdom Partners. In case you don't know much about us, we are a leadership coaching company, and we help founders succeed by moving beyond the firefighting of the early days into actual company building. And we're doing this podcast because being a founder is a lonely job. And we want everybody to just understand it has its ups and downs, and the struggle is real. And we're all in this together, even if we're sort of on our own boats, but we're in the same ocean. So I'm so glad to have Connor Engelsberg on the podcast today. And Connor is building Orvyn. Gone through a couple of pivots already, but the way they're landing right now is they are a PowerPoint automation for finance. So as somebody in a previous life, I made a ton of PowerPoints, and it is like I would want to pull my hair out to get the numbers in the right places and the colors to match the key and all of the stuff. And so I can imagine, I look forward to hearing more about how you guys help that work better and how you've niched down to the finance industry. So Connor, tell us a little about you and about Orvyn.
Yeah. First of all, thanks again for having me on. Like, this is really great. Love what you're doing. Yeah. So a little bit about me. I originally was studying at U Chicago for comp and applied math, but I quickly got accepted to YC for their spring batch. And I'm a startup guy at heart. I did one in high school, sold it off, and I got a chance to actually like move out and work on one full time. So I took it. What do I have to lose? And then just, started on this crazy journey. And to tell you a little bit about Orvyn, we are a PowerPoint automation tool for finance. For those of you who aren't familiar with the finance space, there's something called PowerPoint deliverables. So basically, these are like pitch decks or like anything relating to like dealing with the PowerPoint presentation, whether you're giving it to a client or whether you're giving it to like an investor or someone else. They need to be perfect. And in order to reach the state of being perfect, they go through anywhere from a dozen to a couple dozen rounds of iterations. And during every round, it takes anywhere from a couple of hours to a couple of days of just like small, tedious work, like aligning logos to making sure all the colors match the brand consistency and whatnot. So basically a bunch of small bespoke changes. And what we do is we take those hours worth of work, potentially days worth of work, and bring it down to a matter of minutes.
That's awesome. So why does PowerPoint for finances resonate with you personally?
Yeah, so I've always been in the finance space. I've grown up around it. My cousins are in finance, investment banking, and private equity. My brother's going into it, and originally I was actually going to go down the quant route. It's like still finance, but like I like tech, so I wanted to mix the two. And yeah, just grown up around it. I love this space, and I really think that there's a lot that can be done that we're not currently doing.
What's a win for you and Orvyn in the past year that makes you feel really proud?
Yeah, I honestly just seeing how much like time people save. Like the reason I say that is at the end of the day, no one wants to be stuck doing small, tedious work. Like you want to be with your family, you want to be with your friends, you want to be like, be with people you care about. And like that's like the only thing that matters at the end of the day. And I remember one of the clients that we have that we're working with right now, they're a mid-market investment bank, and they used to print out these like 50 slide presentations. They would tape them up on the walls, they would circle things, and like it was completely nuts. I've never really seen it before at that scale. And now with Orvyn, he doesn't need to do that anymore. Like they've saved so much copy paper, but also like B, just like so much time. Like now in one click, they could run all the checks that they used to do within a matter of like 30 seconds. And it does it with the same level of accuracy, if not better, most of the time.
Yeah, that reminds me of my co-founder Charles Jolly. He's also a AI entrepreneur. He's done 3 or 4 AI companies and with exits. And he says people really, they often misunderstand the function of AI. It is not, the point of AI is not to do your thinking for you. The point of AI is to give you more time to think. So I say it a little differently. I say AI is not going to make us less human. AI is going to do more of the machine work so we can be more human and
Yeah.
do less work that's mechanical, like just turning the crank work. Does that seems like you're applying that to a very specific niche context with Orvyn, but how does that resonate with you?
Yeah. Yeah. You got that exactly correct. Like the point, we're not trying to replace analysts. Like at the end of the day, you're not going to replace human judgment. Like humans are around for a reason. We're just automating the parts that humans were never meant to do. Yeah, that was exactly right. We are not here to replace, we're not here to replace analysts. We're here to just take out the work that they don't really need to do. Because at the end of the day, humans are meant to do the higher level thinking task. Like that's what we're built for. We're built for strategy. We're built to analyze. We're built to like give direction, not worry if this text aligns with another text, if that makes sense. So what we're doing is just letting humans do what they do best.
I love it. You wouldn't think, a lot of people wouldn't think automating PowerPoint is an impact business. But as somebody who's been responsible for a lot of PowerPoint deliverables at different times, I'm like, "Oh, please impact me." Thankfully, these days, that's not my life. But when it was, yeah, tedious is the right word for it. So I appreciate it, and I see the value there. So here's another question for you. We like to say at Wisdom Partners that wisdom is failure redeemed. It's not, we have some successes and exits and plenty of victories, but we also earned those through a whole lot of skin knees and busted heads. And uh, so I want to ask, what is a failure or a mistake or a misstep that you've made in the last year that you have learned from? What's some wisdom you've earned the hard way?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say one of the by far biggest failures was like actually it was earlier, like during the earlier stages of Orvyn, before we had people using us, before we even had a working product. Like for those of you who don't know, PowerPoint, the reason why we're starting there is it's such a pain to work with. That's why you don't see any good tools. Like from a developer standpoint, it's terrible file to work with, terrible like glitches a lot. So it's essentially finding a bunch of workarounds to make it work. And the challenge that comes with that is like it's never been done. It's never been done. So there's no research to go to. So we spent the first 2 months not putting it in users' hands, but just getting it to the point to where we can put it into users' hands. And mentally, that was by far the most draining time because all you want to do is put it in users' hands, see the impact, and actually, like, deliver value, not worry about, oh, like, can we actually even get to that point? So it's just that 2 months of rebuilding the product, rebuilding, trying something new, testing. And that was by far the most, like, probably biggest, not, yeah, definitely biggest failure.
Help me understand that a little more. Was there a mistake in there, or was that just kind of necessary pain until you got a product you could put before customers?
Yeah, like honestly, the big mistake, like there wasn't one big mistake, it was a bunch of small mistakes. If you ever heard of the saying, like dying from 1,000 cuts, that's almost what it felt like. Like we had to fail just over and over again to actually get the like first version working. So rather than just like, I know you were looking for like a one big failure kind of moment, but I'm kind of grouping all these together because we had to fail over and over and over and over again before we could even put it in a single customer's hands.
So what's the wisdom or the lesson that you learned from those 2 or 3 months?
Yeah, the biggest thing is just keep going at it. Like honestly, yeah, the biggest thing is just to keep going at it. In reality, one of the things that I've learned, like not just from this, but like especially this, but over the past like 7, 8 months since I've been in SF, is that the only thing that really matters is how much you're willing to essentially fail and like try and try again, because it has nothing to do about intelligence, it has nothing to do about like anything else. All you have to do is fail and be willing to do that 1,000 times over to achieve what you want.
Mostly agree. I'll add I'll add one piece to it. Be willing to fail, but then have disciplined reflection so you can learn from it.
That is definitely a really important part, because if you fail and you don't learn from anything, then there's no point in failing.
But it sounds like you're doing that though. What's your reflection cycle so that you're not wasting your failures?
Yeah, I'd say the most important part is just remembering, like whatever it takes to remember, like writing it down, keeping a note log of like all your failures, like whatever works for you. But all that, like the most important thing is that you remember. Because I meet a bunch of people who they go through, they reflect on them, and they actually reflect on them pretty well, but they don't remember, and they make the same mistake the next day or like the next week, and then it just sends them into a downward spiral. So definitely remembering has been like the key for me of like keeping this constant personal growth.
Yeah, thanks. That's helpful. Over the last year or so, what have been some of the best personal investments or professional investments that you've made?
Yeah. On the personal side, I'd definitely say it's like dedicating time in your day to keep doing what you love, or like what keeps you sane. Because like at the end of the day, as you said, we're all on this like vast ocean in a hurricane, in this like giant storm of chaos. So like for me, dedicating half an hour every day to practice music, and then half an hour every day to go to the gym. So that is probably like, not probably, that is the most greatest investment I've made personally.
That's great. What instrument do you play?
French horn.
Yeah, my oldest kid plays baritone, so pretty similar, right? I think.
Yeah, they're both in the brass family. Yeah, they're both in the brass family.
What about a good professional investment you've made in the past year?
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good question, because I honestly don't think this is talked about enough as well. Obviously, on the personal side, it's really important, but professional, it's equally as important. For me, one thing I've been doing to like, I'm on the technical side. I'm the one developing Orvyn. And one thing I do to just like make sure I stay up to date on everything, like everything about machine learning, about AI, like just everything in general, is I attend these weekly newspaper, or not newspaper, I'm sorry. I attend these weekly research paper readings. So it's a small group of 12 of us. We all like every week read a research paper, and we meet up, almost think about like a book club, and then we talk about what the paper was, what it was about, and just everything. And then it opens up to a Q&A, and then we could each talk about each other's research paper. So it's basically letting me like digest really quickly a bunch of research papers every week on topics that I'm involved in. So like that's definitely been by far like the best investment I've made professionally.
There's something about, like, this is scientifically proven over and over again, when we're able to learn in social settings, that enables us to learn in different, more complex ways. There's something about beating up ideas with other people and having other people interact with your ideas or the way you formulate them or question them. It changes how we think, and it makes the concepts sort of go deeper into our psyche. Is that part of what you have experienced?
Yeah, honestly, the collaborative learning part has been huge for me, because no matter how smart one may think that they are, like you get trapped in your own mind. And just by having someone like from like an outside perspective tell you something, that's huge, because you're used to your own way of thinking. You're gonna rethink the same thing like maybe 5, 10 times, and then all it takes is to show it to someone else, and then they tell you something new, and that basically extends what you were thinking. So I don't know if that was a good way of saying it, but
Great.
yeah, it's basically just letting other people throw in new ideas, and then branching off to that, and then just keeping it going.
Awesome. What's one of the biggest challenges you're trying to learn now?
Are you talking about professionally, or are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, sort of with Orvin, like, like in terms of the company, what's a challenge you guys are trying to solve?
Okay. What we're trying to do is we're trying to automate all the tedious work that analysts, or like, and even MDs at smaller firms shouldn't be worried about. Because right now, in a lot of especially bigger firms, analysts, their entire job is to go through and just do all this tedious work day in, day out for like 80 plus hours per week at some places. And we're trying to get our product to a point to where they don't have to worry about that. They could worry about forming connections, building relationships, like driving actual, driving actual outcomes versus worrying about all the tedious stuff that in reality AI should be worrying about.
And so that's a sort of the core problem you're trying to solve for your customers. What's a challenge sort of above that for you guys as a business? Like, what are you trying to figure out as the founders of Orvyn that will help you accomplish your mission? What's a roadblock you have these days? What is a piece of advice that you would give to other early stage founders?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, the number one piece of advice I have, I did kind of touch on this earlier, but be persistent, be persistent, be persistent. At the risk of being repetitive, be persistent. The reason I say that is there's so many good ideas I see. There's so many really smart people I see who just stop. And in reality, they're the kind of people where you look at them and you know for a fact if they just kept going, they would have been able to make a difference. And it's interesting. People often think that startups often fail because cash or because customers don't want them or some weird reason. But in reality, it's just all about persistence. And if you're truly passionate about an idea and you think it can have a real impact in the world, then honestly, all you need is persistence. Just keep going.
Cool. Thanks. And if there's somebody listening to this and they're like, I hate PowerPoint, I want Orvyn, or the world will be so much better if you could take all of this tedious it's sort of the new manual labor. It's like laying bricks one by one or doing clicks one by one. So if somebody wants to support the Orvyn mission, how can they help? Who are you trying to meet? What intros could people do for you? This is your chance to shamelessly plug and ask for favors.
Yeah, honestly, if you're interested in using Orvyn, would love to talk to you. If you know anyone who's interested in it as well, or who could benefit from it, our website's getorvyn, getorvyn.com. Feel free. I'll respond. We'll set up a call. Happy to chat one-on-one. And also, if you know anyone who's interested in contributing to our mission, building with us, we're looking for software engineers, ML engineers. So if you know anyone who's as so if you know anyone who's completely dedicated to the mission of bringing AI into the finance space and really just changing people, changing how people in finance work, I would love to talk to them, which that is also found on our website.
Awesome. No pressure. Do you want to make another pass at the challenge you're trying to solve? And it's totally cool to describe the product issue.
No, I'm trying to give you a better. I know the answer you're shooting for. So trust me, I'm going to try to give you good content.
Yeah, it's all good. We can just talk for a little bit. How have you guys been doing now that you've made this pivot away from an intelligence platform to kind of, in some ways, a business intelligence tool? Or is it a plugin or a software?
Yeah, it's a plugin for Microsoft.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a plugin for Microsoft, and I remember last time I talked to you, I was looking for a co-founder. Then I did a trial with someone that I've known for a while, and then things actually ended up working out really well.
Nice.
And then started got that all solidified. But I'm trying to be honest, there's been no it's been great complementary skill set. And, all the products lie in obviously the execution, the technical side of things, small problems everyone's dealing with their products. So I'm trying to think I don't really know if I could give you a really good answer on that one, to be honest. Yeah.
That's okay. No worries. How are you doing? So it sounds like you have some paying customers for the new product. And how do you feel like it's going? Are you feeling like a lot of times when you get on the right track, you can sort of feel it in your gut?
Yeah.
How is that going for you?
Yeah, so far it's been going well. We're working with a couple dozen firms right now. We have a bunch of demos lined up and whatnot for the next couple weeks, which is really good. But so far it's been feeling great. Because one of the problems that I've had with some of my previous pivots is that I felt misaligned with the customers. The customers, maybe they got excited, then I wasn't excited about this. I didn't see a long term, or maybe I was really excited about this, and then the customers didn't really end up caring. They're this doesn't really There were a million different reasons, but like I just wasn't aligned with the customers completely. But with this, both like anyone I talked to who's experiencing the issue and myself were perfectly aligned on the issue. And that helps a ton because now anything we roll out, we're always on the same page. There's never like a wasted moment. And then all the features we are rolling out, it's not like fluff, if that makes sense. Like everything has meaning.
That's a good feeling. Does it work? Does Orvyn work equally on like downloaded PowerPoint as well as like I know a lot of times, like most of the time now, I guess it's Teams in the cloud, you know? So is that primarily where it's working? Primarily plugging into the cloud-based system?
Yeah, so Orvin is an add-in for the PowerPoint desktop app. So like any PowerPoint you want to download, like you can share PowerPoints with your team, you can get one from a client, like whatever. Doesn't matter as long as it opens inside the PowerPoint desktop app, then we could work with it.
Okay, so I'm just thinking back to my enterprise days where I would have to make a choice between am I working on this in the browser or am I working in this in the desktop app? So I would have to work on it in the desktop app to use Orvyn.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, but then it exports to the browser fine.
Yeah, like it's a regular PowerPoint file as if you were like, working with the file yourself. Go in, upload or like open the file, have Orvin make changes, save, export, and then it's perfectly intact.
Where are you finding your customers these days?
Yeah, mainly through email and LinkedIn outreach. LinkedIn has by far been like so far the most successful. Just a quick 2 sentence to people in our ICP. It's been working out actually pretty well. We actually started email recently. Don't have too much to say on that. Still learning a lot about that as I go. But yeah, it's just been completely through like word of mouth, email.
Do you feel like you have a good handle on that? If you had more lead flow, you could sell more and it would be like, I guess what I'm saying is I know some people who we have a new client who works on lead gen and they help you identify your ICP and then get them conversation ready for you. Do you feel like you have that taken care of and you don't need help with that, or that's something that would be helpful?
To be honest, like right now, like we are growing. We are growing actually like at a decent pace. But our main concern right now isn't growth. It's getting the product to where we want it to be.
Yeah.
So like right now, we've been fortunate that growth has kind of like followed along. I'm not gonna lie about that. We've been fortunate, but our main priority is just iterating as quickly as we can with the people we have. We have weekly calls with everyone. So like we'll sit down for 15 minutes every week. What worked, what didn't. Let's test here on the call if you didn't have time to like do anything in PowerPoint, like whatever. And just how quickly can we get the product to a point to where like when we do grow, we don't have to worry about a bunch of like small errors that we didn't fix or things we didn't implement.
How many people on your team now?
2.
You and your co-founder.
Yeah.
Cool. Any questions for me?
Yeah. Actually, will this part be if this part is included in the podcast? I have a good question for you. If not, then I don't know. I didn't know if you wanted this to be included in the.
We leave it on record in case something golden happens, but we can also just say this is off book.
Okay. Yeah. If you want to include it, I was just going to ask you about like what led you to like do partner coaching or like co-founder coaching to help companies to do this podcast. Like just like what's your story behind it? Like I didn't know if you wanted to leave it off on that, but no, it's up to you.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's a combination of things.
Actually, do you want me to ask again? Because like
Sure, go ahead.
I've already made your editing probably twice as hard, so at least this way I give you a probably cleaner shot. Yeah. So what led you to like not only like what led you to not only like want to help co-founders like work through issues, work through company issues, like and also of course create this wonderful podcast that I'm grateful to be on. So yeah, like what's your story? What led you to do this?
Yeah, thanks, Connor. So my background is pretty varied. My kids will tell you it's because I have ADHD. So I'm like, ooh, there's an interesting problem. Let me go work on that for a while. But I've worked in the nonprofit space, community development, for-profit, Kaiser Permanente, which is where I was responsible for a lot of PowerPoint deliverables. I was a strategy consultant for them. So we were always making decks to compare and share and work with our executives. And my educational background, I have a PhD in organizational leadership with a focus on leader development. And really, leader development has been a core passion for my whole life. I feel deeply motivated to help leaders who are trying to make a difference. And usually, if you're successful at all, if you're innovating anything, then pretty quickly you'll have a team around you. And then you have to be not just an innovator, but a leader. And that's a paradigm shift because being the guy with the computer in the corner is one thing, but being the guy with 10 people working on something, that's a totally different ballgame. And so I get really passionate about helping people who are solving real problems make their vision a reality. And most of the time, people can't do that by themselves or with one or two other people. They can get started, but they need 10, 20, 100 people to really make their vision come true. And so I got into working with startup founders because my co-founder, Charles Jolly, is a serial entrepreneur. He sold companies to Apple and Facebook, and he became a founder coach before I did. And we realized just in our dialogue together, we share a really similar philosophy of leadership. And we realized there's a gap for particularly founders in the messy middle. Like there's a lot of support for founders at the beginning, accelerators, incubators, that kind of stuff. And once you get to Series B-ish, you can pretty much buy whatever help you need. But in that middle space, there's not a lot of help in helping to help founders figure out how to become executives and not just technicians. And we felt like we had earned some of that wisdom the hard way. We've us and our two other co-founders have all led fast-growing organizations and have the scars to prove it. And so we wanted to share some of that wisdom in a more systematic way. Actually, this spring, we're launching, kind of distilling that into a 4-month course called Ownership Culture Implementation. So we think the real key to building a scalable organization is ownership culture. That's when every individual is empowered to take decisive action within their area of responsibility in alignment with the mission. So over the 4 months, we'll talk about the 4 pillars: authenticity, alignment, accountability, and autonomy. And so that, in a lot of ways, we started Wisdom Partners because we believe in ownership culture and want to help people live it more, because it's better for you as a leader, it's better for your team as the followers, and then therefore it's better for the world around you.
Yeah, no, that's definitely really nice. I'm glad you're doing it.
Any way I can be helpful to you?
Honestly, like, obviously, like, other than the 2 things I said earlier, I think that's really about it. But yeah, I know, like, I really appreciate you inviting me to be on this. A lot of fun. I probably made editing for you twice as hard as the normal podcast, but no, it was definitely really enjoyable.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor. Great to talk to you. And there is probably going to be some delay time between now and when it goes live, because I think we're going to try to wait until we have 5 or 10 ready before we launch it. So, and we're figuring it out. we are actively failing as fast as we can.
Yeah,
So,
well, yeah, that's the name of the game. So
yeah, great. Cool. Well, I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy tonight, get some rest, or have some fun, play some baritone.
yeah, yep. It's just gonna be worth the rest of the night.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, the typical startup experience. Yeah.
Have you played your baritone already today?
Yeah, 12
All
o'clock
right.
sharp.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later, and feel free to hit me up anytime.
All right, sounds good. Will do. Thanks again.